Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining our show again this week. We're very happy that there are people like you out there that are interested in what's happening in our cities. Because it is important for good government that the city council, the staff of the city, and the residents in the city are all communicating together about the issues that are important to all of them. So we're glad that you're interested. And if you haven't watched our show before, each week we'll have on something from one of the 9 cities to update you on what's happening in our cities. So you'll always be in the know if you're watching our program. So we're glad to have you with us, and we do encourage you that if any of the issues that we cover in the program kind of resonate with you, take the time and call the mayors or the city council people and let them know what you think or ask questions. Now tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to kind of go behind the scenes of both Northwest Community Television, which is where we produce our shows from, and we'll go behind the scenes from our show and kind of tell people how we do it, what's involved, all the details of it. So we're glad that you're along with us for a change of pace. And tonight our guest is Javier Cedillo. No, I didn't.
It was good.
Cedillo. Close.
It was good. It was very close, but I still run with it. So
okay.
Yeah, thanks
good.
for having me tonight.
Yeah, we're glad to have you with. Now you're a studio manager, right?
Correct. I've been a studio manager at Northwest Community Television for almost 3 years now. So it's been an exciting few years. So.
Okay. Now I'm going to thank you for being the answer person, and we're going to switch roles here.
Awesome, let's do this.
Because it's only fair for you to be able to ask some questions, but also for us to give people a little more knowledge of how our show came about.
Of course.
Start again.
All right. So Northwest City Politics is a show that you've been doing for a while. How did you get involved, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, we're on about a little over 10 and a half years, but in 2004, I was involved with a citizens group that had questions about how some redevelopment was going on in my city. And so we were talking, meeting, how can we share ideas, how can you bring a different viewpoint forward. And we met in a Caribou coffee shop. And there happened to be a person that I started chatting with as I was finishing gathering my people together. His name's Kevin Pfeiffer, and he had a show here.
Wow.
And he was concerned and lived in New Hope too, so he said, oh, come and be on my show up at Community Access. I mean, I knew it was there, but I didn't know anything about it. And be his New Hope correspondent. So our group shared their thoughts through his show over a period, off and on, for a period of months. And then Kevin said, you could have your own show. And as I thought about it, the concern that I have then and still have is that in city government, oftentimes things get voted on and put into place and people aren't even aware that they're happening. Now the city, not that the city isn't trying to get the word out, but that happens. So I thought, well, if we took the 9 cities and had people on from the 9 cities to talk about what's current, what's up and coming, and then encourage people to get in contact with their city councils and mayors, that this would be something worthwhile doing. So that's what we got started doing in 2004.
Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah.
And this is another way for people to actually understand what's going on in the city. This is a different media.
Oh, right.
Because you see things on TV, on the radio, but it's usually about the bigger cities.
Right.
And you rarely get to hear about your local cities around your area, and you don't get enough information. But this is a really fun place to watch and understand what's going on in the city, understand it. And yeah, that's Kevin Pfeiffer. Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, that's how we got started.
And how did you decide on the format of the show? Like, has it changed over the year?
Well, his was like, he was interviewing me, so I use that as a beginning point. And it has changed over the years in that when we first started out, you're kind of nervous. I'll share that with people. So the things that I was going to say, I'd put on the teleprompter, right? I'd work that all out ahead of time and type it all in. But then I would work out questions and go back and forth with people. But over the years, it moved into where as I met enough people that were mayors and city council people, because they're the basic people that are going to tell you what's currently happening at your city meetings, that as I contacted them, they would give me the issues that are happening in their cities, and because I've been doing this for a while, then I would develop an outline of questions that I could ask them and get it to them ahead of time. Because the idea being that people learn from our show that it's not a gotcha show. That
oh, I see. Yeah, because you see a lot of that on
right,
TV already.
Right.
But it's really good. It's really nice. I mean, you know, I kind of wish, because I live in St. Paul, I kind of wish I had this kind of show to tell me what's going on around the city. So,
and that's what people tell me when I run, you know, when people talk with me about the show, is they enjoy finding out what's happening across the area around where you live.
Yeah. As a producer, how do you get ready to tape a show? What's the procedures you do?
Yeah, the steps that I have to go through that are my part of the process, because I've got all these good people back in the control room doing that other part of the process, is that first I have to get somebody that's willing to come on the show, and that we can work the schedule out. Now we tape twice a month, and then out of each taping, I edit it down so we got 2 half-hour shows. So twice a month, I need to find somebody that's willing and available, and then schedule it so we hit every city. So we do a mayor and a city council person from all of the 9 cities during the year. So once I schedule someone in, and I'll do that for like, 2-3 months, not too much more than that, because it gets too far for people to remember and keep on their calendar. But I get the person. Then the week before the show, I'll call them back and they'll tell me what are the current issues. And then I have to take the time to put it into an outline, just like I did for you. And then I email that to them so they can tell me if we need to add or subtract things, and then we're ready to then come to where we're going to come here and do the show. So there's a little work ahead of time as the producer and the host. The next step after I've got everything ready and we tape the show is that then I need to take and edit it into a form that's going to look good. So I need to break the show down into various pieces. I have to look at it and see how they're going to fit together. It's a trick to get so you have a little bit more than what you need, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it takes time to figure out what can you cut out, what do you need to keep there. Smooth over any long pauses, people cough, whatever. Make it nice and smooth, and that it sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I'm always watching I always help you out when you're editing. And, you know, I get to see what it looks like. You know, when I'm submitting it to playback, I'm like, I watch it and I was like, so I wonder how it looks like tonight. And everything looks so smooth. I was like,
but it takes
really
time.
Good. It takes time. That's right.
And I don't even know how many hours when I first started, but that's the learning process.
Yeah.
And then as you get down, maybe the 2 shows can be done in 6-7 hours. So it takes time.
That's pretty good.
But it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you learn something new almost every time.
That's right. And you get to see yourself.
Right.
And you get to understand what kind of like gestures, hand gestures. I mean, that's what I notice when I do my show. I was like, I tap on the table a lot. you know, but other than that, you know, when you submit to playback, you also submit to YouTube?
Oh, yes. I almost didn't say that. Yeah, we want to make sure people know that if they miss the show, they can always go to YouTube. And I think we'll have our YouTube channel up right now. So it's youtube.com/user/NWCT politics. So people can always go there.
They should always go there.
Right. Yeah. But that takes care of the guest part. But then you also need volunteers.
That's right.
So we've got a lot of people that have been really faithful and have a lot of knowledge. I'm really fortunate because that's what makes the show look good, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That we've got all the good people in the control room. So then I have to contact the volunteers, find out who's available, and make sure that it comes out with the right number of people to help make the show work well. Plus, we're like even tonight, then we have somebody new that's training in.
That's right.
And it gives people an opportunity to learn about how the background of the show production works as they're trying to figure out what they want to do.
Yeah, and I just want to say how much I appreciate volunteers coming in. A lot of shows can't be done without them.
Oh, right.
They come in on their own free time and they help out as much as possible. They stay until everything is done.
Oh, right.
And they, like yourself, you're a member, volunteer, and you keep this place running. And we here at the studio, we would really like to say thank you to all the volunteers and members, because without you guys, this place wouldn't exist. And that's pretty much right there.
Right.
Yeah, it's just appreciating everybody that comes through those doors and making a day out of what we have. So
yeah, I feel fortunate that I came to it when I was tired, because I have the time, right?
You have the time,
and it's interesting, it's fun, and I concur with you that you just meet a lot of nice people.
That's right, and that's my favorite part. I'm very talkative. I love meeting new people, and I just love stories, and I always want to talk to everybody I see, and I want to understand where they came from. I want to know where they're going. I want to know what their ambitions are.
Right.
And it's fun. I'm a friendly person, I could say.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, it's like I want to be friends with everybody. And just if you want to have friends, come to me. I'll be your friend.
Well, and I think, and I hadn't mentioned it earlier, but I think one of the benefits of our show is that whoever's coming on from one of the cities has plenty of time to tell and talk about things, so that they have the like 2 half-hour time periods to really discuss an issue, because like if you're talking to a reporter, you've got a little short amount of time.
That's right.
Here we've got allow people the time to really develop, explain, give details. I think that's a plus to the people that come on our show.
That's right. A lot of information is given out every night. So yeah.
And then I didn't mention that we generally have mayors and city council people, but we also bring in groups that interact with all of our cities. So we have state legislators come on before and after sessions. We've had groups like Community Mediation, Northwest Hennepin Human Services. We've had people on from Hennepin County commissioners. So they interact with all of our cities, so we try to sprinkle those kinds of groups in between the shows that deal with our individual cities. So we have a big variety of things that we cover. And this will be one of the sprinkled in shows, right?
Nice. Yeah. I'm very excited, and like I said before, it's an honor to be on the show, because I've been here for 2.5, almost 3 years, and I've always seen this show happen every night or every Tuesday night.
Right.
And I always wonder, like, how does it feel to be on the hot seat? And now I know.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
You've been
it's
there,
fun.
Right. We want to take you on a behind-the-scenes tour so you can see the different parts and pieces of how our show is put together, because that's what we promised you at the beginning. Now, right now, we're in Studio B. Northwest Community Television has 2 studios that people can sign up for, so that you can use all this marvelous equipment that is professional quality to get your show taped. Now we film in Studio B, and you'll notice bright green walls behind me. That helps us because we use a green screen for all of our campaign sign background. But this is where the taping happens, and then we'll move on to other parts and pieces of the show so that you can see what happens behind and hear a little bit from some of our volunteers. And the directors for our show, and it's been a long time, is Michael Braun. How many years have we been working together?
Well, we've been working together since the beginning of this show. We started the show about, 11 years ago now?
Right.
But I'm not the only director. We have a gentleman named Scott that directs sometimes. We have another director named Darren Honey.
Right.
It depends on what our schedules are, depends on who directs what shows. And also it depends on sometimes how complex they are.
Oh,
the
right.
more complex shows are not something that a beginner wants to get into.
Right.
So we try to put a more professional director or somebody who's been around a little longer into those positions. But me and Nita have been around with each other for the whole time this show's been around.
Right.
And I have to admit, I have taken some sabbaticals. I have ran away from the show. But
you come back.
for the most part, I've been around the whole time. So, you got any questions for me, Nita?
No, just one question, because we're sharing this with our audience. What got you originally involved? Because you said you started back in when you were how old?
Well, I started back when I was in basically junior high. I did what most people back in the day were listening to morning announcements over a PA. My junior high actually got lucky enough to have a public access station in the junior high. And so we did what was called our morning news broadcast. It was Edgewood. So it was the wood from Edgewood, or some goofy name. I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, the long and the short of it is, we shot a 15-minute news piece every morning or every night before we left school, and then the next morning they'd play that on their little closed caption TV system. And it was kind of funny. And in the beginning, I thought, okay, this is just a stupid little thing I'm doing, and I'm not doing nothing major. And almost 40 years later, I'm still playing with,
having a good time.
I'm still playing with it. My board has gotten a little bigger.
Yeah, explain a little bit, very briefly, about that.
Briefly, this is a very overkill thing. I want to say that most people look at this and say, "What are you doing?" Well, essentially, all you have to do is you have to worry about basically about 5 buttons. You got your camera buttons on your program bus, which is just 1, 2, and 3. They correlate with your monitors that are up here. I have a whole bay of monitors, I realize, but I have 3 monitors, 1 for each camera. I select the shots that way. Then it goes up to my program. And otherwise, cutting in graphics and stuff, if you want to, you just select what graphic from the graphics machine. Essentially, I'm the boss of the room. Because everything goes through me. Even the cameras, everything, nothing goes to tape unless I permit it to. So my graphics person has to be able to work with me. My sound person has to deal with me and work with me. My camera people from before, she and other camera people have to work with me, because if we're not a happy team, just like our studio manager was wearing a shirt tonight that had team on it, if we're not a team, we're not going to make a good show.
Oh, true. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, the graphics person for our show back in the control room is Scott Burdett. And I'll have you start out with, how long have you been involved in community television, public access kinds of things?
I'm going into my, I'm almost finished with, my second year doing shows here. And I do quite a few shows. Some have come and gone, but yours, of course, remains. I like volunteering. I like making shows here.
And what got you involved in the first place?
Well, I'm a computer professional, and I'm interested in video, and grew up in the area.
Okay.
And grew up in Brooklyn Park. I went to Park Center High School. They actually had a TV studio. I took a class on it, and but I didn't really get into it until, just like I said, here a few years ago. After a very long winter, I had to get out of the house, and so I started volunteering here. I came to Super Saturday, did all the classes in one day. I think Super Saturday is a great thing to do, because then you've done it and you can just come and make shows. So I got into it. Part of it is I like that the high def stuff has come out now. Solid state recording with flash drives is good, and I also like doing sound editing and all the other things that are involved with it.
And then tell us a little bit about the job as working with graphics.
And the graphics system ties into the control board, and we can do pretty much anything with this, and it is actually going to be upgraded soon. We have a new system coming in. We also have new panels coming in here as we're going through our high definition conversion, which is about halfway through, I guess. But here we put in the names of the shows. We put everything that goes on the bottom of the screen. We put in the title of the show on some shows. We put in credits at the end, and so all the various shows you see, other than yours, of course, is Polka Spotlight. That's done right here. They put all those graphics in right here, and that show is done. Country Music Jubilee. That's one that's popular, that goes out, and the graphics are all just done from right here. They're just put in the show, and it's wrapped up and done. Bill Weir's show, he likes to do his show all in one shot. So the difference with the main difference with our producers is, of course, some want it all in one shot, one take, one job, and your show, of course, is edited. And Juanita here, she's the editor of her own show. So that's, it gives you more flexibility when you do your own editing too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I love working on your show, Juanita.
Good.
We're recording.
Okay, one of the volunteers that we need for our show, and sometimes we need more than one, is at our camera position. And I want to introduce Marie Gillespie.
Yes.
And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you originated, because you've been with community television for a long time, right?
For almost 20 years.
Right. What got you interested, or how did you get involved in the first place?
I got interested in it at church.
Ah.
A flyer came to our church, and the pastor put it across the pulpit that anybody that was interested can go into the studios and learn this. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So I walked in, and I walked in the control room, and I looked around at all of this equipment, and I'm like, no way can I learn this, because at that time I was like 52 years old, and I'm like, nah, can't do it. Went home, thought about it, and I'm like, I'll give it a try. Came back, took the classes, and fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and I felt so prestigious when I finished my class, and they said, you are officially a producer, director, camera person, writer, audio, and I'm like, wow. So I was really excited. And over the years, I've grown to love what I do, and I could do a little bit of all of it, but not a great bit of every. I'm not an expert at nothing, but I'm willing to try anything that somebody's willing to teach me. And I found that hands-on is the best way to learn.
Oh, for sure.
It seems like the eyes and the mind always remember what the hand does. That sounds backwards, but if you touch it and you see it again, you can do it again. Yeah. So I just grew to love it. I grew to love it, and I like the cameras.
Now, tell us a little bit about the camera. What do you need to do?
The cameras are, okay, when you first get started, you have to first learn how to white balance your cameras to make sure your colors and everything come out right. And then when the show is really getting ready to start and you get into it, you have to post your shots or set your shots. You have to make sure that everything is framed correctly, because if it's not framed correctly, it won't record correctly. And then you have to focus, make sure everybody's skin complexion is what it should be. And then you just, when they count down and say start to do, you do that. But then sometimes you have to pan your cameras, and this is panning, where you might have to take someone out of a shot or put someone in a shot. Or you may have to even get up and move. This is called trucking. You have to get up sometime, maybe move your camera to a different position. Yet, if you have to do it while it's being taped, you have to do it so smooth that it can't be noticed on your tape. And that's it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And another critical area in the control room is the audio board. Now, the person that's helping out on audio will first start back in the studio, because they're going to need to set up whatever microphones the producer chooses to use on the show. The director is also involved in that selection. Now, we use microphones that are plugged in. Some people use wireless microphones, but they're going to get them all plugged in. Everybody's seated, and they're going to make sure that the microphones are working, because that's part of the process. Then they'll come over here and check out the levels of people's voices, because some people speak louder, some people softer. So all of the people that are in the show, they're going to need to get that equalized out. And then during the process of the show, they're going to want to keep everything so that it sounds good for you, those of you at home. All right, the final step after we've taped a program is that I choose to edit it into 2 half-hour shows. A lot of people will choose just to tape straight through and have the right time slot. So editing is my final step in the process. What I'll do is we have a software program called Final Cut. I have to take the digital taping, which happened in the studio when we were showing you the director, take that taping and import it into this software system. When it's in the software system, then I can work with it. I can cut it into pieces, I can eliminate things that don't look right, I can adjust the sound for it, I can add graphics if I need. There's a whole raft of things that can be done with the editing. Far more than I ever know. I can do basic editing on my interviewing show, but it does take time, but it allows me to take, pauses, coughs, times when people ran out of, their mind went blank and they couldn't think what to say. Well, I can take all those out of the show so that the final show will be nice and smooth. I can put in dissolve so there aren't any sharp changes in the video. There's just a lot of work that can be done, and it's my choice. I like to work with, particularly, I like to be able to get 2 shows out of 1 taping, because it's far easier to get volunteers for 2 times a month than it would be for 4 times a month. But I enjoy the process, it's very interesting, and there's lots of help from the studio managers when you run across a problem.
Well,
The footage that we've taped needs to be imported into the software, which allows me to work with it. That was our intro section that we use every time, that you heard playing in the background. But once I've worked through the shows, edited it, got 2 half-hour shows that are exactly 29 minutes and 30 seconds, then is the time when I go through a whole process that sends it to playback so that it can be on channel 19. So it's an interesting process. Sometimes it goes smoothly, sometimes you have glitches, but I enjoy doing it, and I prefer to do it that way because it saves on my volunteers' time, but also I can smooth out the rough edges. Yeah,
that's the one reading.
that was the opening clip that goes on all of our shows, and then of course it goes into what the show is about and moves forward. After I get it edited and sent it off to playback, then you can watch it on channel 19, Wednesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Please join us.
Yeah, so thank
We
you.
have a good time, and the time goes by fast, and
That's right. Yeah.
it's fun to do.
Yep.
So we'll encourage all of you out there to tune in next week. We're glad that you're with us, and we hope you join us again next week. Bye.